Good evening, Weather First meteorologist Gary Frank with an update here as we look ahead to this bouncy camera. It's already bringing in some warmer conditions a little bit. That's what's kept us at least on the warmer side today as we got to around 32 degrees. But the south breeze is going to be a key component for us as it bounces this camera around and bounces the trees around as we start to add freezing rain into the mix. Right now it's dry. It'll stay that way here for the next several hours, but that's what we're going to continue to monitor. Temps at 30 degrees. They're not going to drop a whole lot right now as we have a south-southeast wind at 14 miles an hour. We got to 32 today, but we're going to drop a little bit over the next few hours. I want you to note that overnight, over the next few hours, temperatures holding pretty steady, and if not going to go up a little bit, but I think we'll hold pretty steady in the mid to upper 20s overall as we start to fall. But it's after 2 o'clock in the morning specifically that we'll start to see our freezing rainfall, and it comes from this system that provides freezing rain now from Wichita into Tulsa into Oklahoma City, and that's what I want to look at right now because specifically this area is, it's got some pretty decent freezing rain. That's what I'll zoom into just a little bit. You'll see these areas that have already started to see this light glaze. This is a lot what I think what we're going to be dealing with tomorrow from Oklahoma City all the way to Wichita Falls. We're starting to see some of that in Fayetteville. Most of this is all freezing rain, and this is going to be a freezing rain event for most of us here as we look at ahead. I mean, we've got a lot of spots under some sort of winter weather advisory, and then into the south, you also see areas under a winter storm warning, also, an ice storm warning. So depends on where you are. I think it's very interesting and important to note that we're under this winter weather advisory. Most of us are under that until 6 o'clock. There are a few counties on the Illinois side that are involved in this until 9 o'clock, but it's just something to look at. And that means that's Bond, Fayette, Macoupin, and Montgomery. So really the Metro East is going to see this for a little bit longer, and that's going to be an important component for us because I do think that this ends on the Missouri side a little bit sooner, lingers a little bit longer on the Metro East, and that's why it's important to note that this is not going to be just a morning thing as we look at this as a whole. Overall, let's talk about why this is all developing in the start, because we talk about freezing temperatures at the surface. There's no doubt that we're going to be below freezing, but you look at our air temperature right now, our ground temp even 2 inches below the surface is about 33, so it's plenty cold at the surface, but only about a mile high, we're at 31 and then 32. It actually goes up a little bit. That is the opposite of what you would expect to happen, but that's that warm nose of air that settles in that creates the snow to melt and then refreeze at the surface. That's what we're watching here into the overnight hours. So after 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll see that mix of wintry precipitation, and it's mostly just going to be freezing rain. There may be a few areas of sleet on the leading edge of this or a flake of snow, but in general, this is all going to be freezing rain, and it just looks like rain. You'll look at that outside, but over the course of 30 minutes to an hour, you'll start to see that glaze on the trees, the grass, your car surfaces. As we go into 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, this is widespread freezing rain. Temps in the upper 20s, right around 30 degrees. This continues for 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. As we continue to see this freezing rain go over the next several hours, it's with us at 9 o'clock. Now, it's trying to end a little bit off to our north, but then there's another round of it. As our temperatures get close to freezing, that's where at least it's a little bit better in terms of impacts, I think. But we'll pause it around noon and talk about what's going on tomorrow, because I think tomorrow we'll see temperatures right around freezing, if not just below it. As we get closer to noon, a few spots are going to work their way closer to that freezing mark, but it's just not going to be higher than about 35 throughout the day. And as we start this weather alert day at 1 o'clock and carry it through about 6 o'clock, light freezing rain begins. I think temperatures are mostly below freezing, so there's no argument there. But as this increases during the rush hour, icy conditions will develop, and that's where things will get slick. There's obviously a lot of salt on the roads already, so it's going to take some time for this to really become an issue, I think, in the early morning hours. But when it does, there's really no turning back from this. I think we're going to get on the slick side. By 12:30 or 1 o'clock, that's where I say temperatures are around the freezing mark, if not a little bit above it. You'll see a lot of this transitions to rain, but hanging on in the Metro East, where you're starting to see that winter weather advisory in place a little bit longer, and that's why it's in place till 9 o'clock as opposed to 6 o'clock on the Missouri side. Most of this transitions to rain. I think overall it will be done into the evening hours, but you look at ice accumulation. Some of these recent numbers, about 1/4 of an inch of ice, or maybe less, really between 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of ice, with pockets of heavier accumulation. Now, I'm not telling you to go outside and measure the ice, because that's going to be difficult for us to do, and sometimes it melts before you get out there, right? So this is not really a thing. I want to show you impacts because that's the most important part of freezing rain. It's the impacts. If you have less than 1/4 of an inch of ice, then you're typically just going to see the cars and trees glazed over with icy bridges and slick roads. 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, our tree limbs get heavy. And then eventually, greater than 1/2 an inch, widespread tree damage and outages. We're not going to get there, but I want to highlight these two as the most likely scenario that we're going to see. Icy roads, maybe a few power outages, especially when you add the fact that I think the wind will gust to about 25 miles an hour. So we'll see how much of that ice gets on there. We'll keep a close eye on that. But overall, it is going to be a difficult commute, I think, and into the early afternoon hours. Getting better by late evening and even after sunset as temperatures remain above freezing overnight. So that's a key point as well. And then over the next few days, smooth sailing, but a lot more rain as we try to get out of our drought here over the next few days. But we'll keep a close eye on that. I think overall, freezing rain is definitely going to impact us in some fashion tomorrow. So we'll have updates into the overnight hours and, of course, starting off tomorrow morning at 4 a.m.